whoever that person is going to be. The answer is freedom. The answer is liberty. So right now, yes, Ron Paul is the person who is delivering that message. Okay, but this is why we are talking about this now, because it has to carry on one way or another. We see, what's going on. We know the elections. Media is a huge problem. That I mean, I have big plans on, for the media, because the media allows all this, and we have to start working on the media. But from my opinion, from what I'm seeing, I'm a delegate. I'm going to be down there in Tampa, Florida, so I'm going to be on the
Good
inside.
job, man.
Adam's going to be on the outside, and I'm just hoping that we are going to take advantage of this opportunity, and we are going to rip this place up and use, they are trying to hide. They're doing everything they can to put us in the background. Okay, now if we have enough Ron Paul delegates on the inside, coordinate enough of us to cause enough of a ruckus, so to speak, and I'm not exactly sure what I mean by that, but and we have Adam on the outside, hopefully with a couple thousand troops. There's no way the cameras are going to be able to hide from that. I see a huge event coming at the end of August, and I'm looking very forward to that. What do you think about that, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I hope you caught my similar call for a positive outlook going in towards Tampa. But another comment here in the forum that I wanted to address was about endorsements and making deals with the Republican Party. Obviously, this is something that has made a lot of people uncomfortable, seeing Ron Paul endorse Lamar Smith, for example, in Texas, who is really one of the worst neocons, and not getting behind Sheriff Mack, who's challenging him in the primary this year, and he's got his election, or the primary coming up. It doesn't look great for Sheriff Mack, but mainly because the connection hasn't been made for the Ron Paul movement and his candidacy, and that's something that I was trying to do with a video that I did promoting Sheriff Mack. Ted Cruz, again, this huge endorsement, really pissing off Ron Paul supporters in Texas that he's going to go and support someone who's so anti-liberty. But again, I think some of this, to a certain extent, is Ron legitimately trying to hedge his bets, to play nice, but some of it is that he's trusted Jesse Benton to handle a lot of this, and I have no doubt that Jesse Benton is maneuvering for himself behind the scenes and basically selling these endorsements on Ron's behalf, and that's really, although the evidence for that is more circumstantial at this point. But to get back to what you were saying about what Ron Paul is to the movement, what he really represents, and there are two things that for which I love Ron Paul more than anything, that he has provided for the movement. And they are, first, that he has made the message of liberty relevant by saying, I'm a credible presidential candidate. Here is a libertarian platform that, like, as a voluntarist, this is what I would do as president, and given us a way to connect of the message of liberty to real policy in a way that makes immediate change. And while you might not agree with everything in Ron's platform, and there are a lot of people that have taken, the real philosophical plunge and made the transition from minarchist to voluntarist, then, you might disagree with some of the ways that Ron is suggesting a decrease in government violence, a decrease in coercion. But I have absolute confidence that his platform through and through is based on applying those principles and has given us that tool as something that we can advocate for. But other thing is that by being a credible presidential candidate, by holding out the possibility that he would be president or could be president, he has made the message of liberty relevant and given us a way to connect with our neighbors. You knock on your neighbor's door and you go, hey, liberty, freedom, and the Constitution, have you heard of it, and this great new philosophy, and yada yada yada. You get the door slammed in your face. But if you say, hey, do you care who our next president is? Well, let me tell you about Ron Paul. You've got a foot in the door, and you've got an opportunity to connect with, basically conceded the race, and that's what the wind out of the sails for so many people, even if it's part of some grand strategery, even if, you know, people are still holding out that Jesse Benton is somehow secretly a genius and he's just hiding it with all of this stuff and is going to get Ron Paul elected. What he did was take that away from the movement and take that away from the grassroots, because now as long as Ron Paul is not saying I'm running to win, then you're not going to be as effective as an advocate. The door's going to get slammed in your face again with people saying, well, screw Ron Paul, he's racist and yada yada, and get out of my face, and I don't want to be bothered with this stuff. So what you said, Anthony, sorry, one more thing. What you said about the movement going forward, very important, because it's not that we need Ron Paul, but that we need to find ways of making the message relevant and of connecting with average Americans. And there are lots of other ways to do that. And Ron Paul provides a nice, easy, convenient package and a national perspective that gives us a way to do that. But hey, if we don't have Ron Paul, that's just another challenge for the movement to overcome.
But don't we need to hear from him? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think we need to hear from him. I think we need to focus on what we're doing right now as far as the short term goes for the campaign and getting him elected. He hasn't yet come out and said, I don't want to be the president. And I don't think he'll say that, because I think there's a chance that he will have a chance to get the nod, honestly. That's Gigi. Hi.
Hey, Gigi.
Hi. I'm not good with technical things. Can you hear me?
You sound good.
Sound great.
Yeah, I could hear you.
I can't hear me. Anyway, Liberty candidates, okay? They're important. They're running because of Ron Paul. Yet, I have a money bomb coming up for them. I do it once every 2 months, and all I see every day is people saying, decline, decline. I don't understand why everyone just wants to donate money to the Jesse Benton Fund and can't give $5 to Sheriff Mack or some of the, we have amazing people running for office. 5 right now are running for office because of Ron Paul. Let's not put all our eggs in the Ron Paul basket, because if he drops dead tomorrow, we have 75 people that want to go and run for office on his behalf. Let's do something about that. I mean, I need help here. I'm not making money from this. I don't have a PAC because I don't believe in PACs, because somebody's always making money off a PAC. I have links so you can directly donate to these people. And all I hear from them is, I haven't gotten any donations, I haven't gotten any donations. Everybody needs to realize that this is what the message was about to begin with. So let's do something about it and donate to these poor people. All right?
That's what we should do for the money bomb tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what we should do for the money tomorrow.
Bye. See you later. Sorry about that.
They can only come in if they have the password.
You know, right? People abstain first round so we can broker this thing and do what we need to do. Anyone? Bueller?
Not just abstain.
How do
they
you
can
know?
Follow their, you know, they can
Follow
really
Rule 38.
honestly follow their conscience. It's a 100% guaranteed path that has been laid out by Romney in 2008. That path has been given to us now here in 2012, and we can use that to violate what they're trying to do, which is throw us out of the convention, you know, surreptitiously by using some sort of backdoor method. But we're walking into it saying that we know the rules, and we know that even if they try to fight us, we can fight it in court. And before we ever get anywhere near November, that victory fund that they're fighting for Romney can eventually become ours. It's very, very, very close to becoming ours, in my opinion.
Does anyone agree besides
Does anybody here realize the consequences of a brokered convention?
Yeah.
what's negative about it?
There's other people that can step in. Of course, there's other people that can step in, but there's nobody else there as far as delegate count that's going to matter. If Gary Johnson and, you know, a few other people aren't there, then there's no one. You're not going to see Jeb Bush walk in. You're not going to see Mr. You're Fired walk in. You're going to see, you know, Romney, Paul, maybe one or two other people, but none of them are going to get enough as delegates. None of them are going to have the kind of delegates that Paul will have.
Now,
Wait a second. You're saying that it's a potential outcome from a brokered convention if someone other than Romney or Ron Paul gets the nomination. If it's looking like Romney, I got to tell you, anybody but Romney would be an improvement. What if the result of the Ron Paul campaign was that instead of Romney being the nominee, I don't know, it was someone like, say, Michelle Bachmann? Not that I'm a fan, but to be honest, from a libertarian perspective, I can show a clear preference for President Bachmann over President Obama that I really can't between Romney and Obama. So I'm not saying that that's like a great outcome, but it's not a bad thing to be a spoiler and lead to that.
but who are the names they are talking? Who are the names they are talking about? They're talking about Jeb Bush, talking about Mitch Daniels.
None of them are worse than Romney. None of them could possibly be worse than Romney. Sorry. The position the Republican leadership is in right now, and the Republican Party would agree with me on that.
Right, but the more of the point I was making is I'm not exactly how I feel about this, but a brokered convention would be straight up in your face, showing the American people that are voting spent by all the people are pretty much null and void, that it doesn't matter who, why even bother running a campaign if the bigwigs at the Republican Party could come in and say, hey, we don't like these people that are running, okay? Now, just say, for example, did get 1144 and it was a landslide, and these guys came in and said, you know what, we don't like it. They have to say, throw out all of them, pull in somebody who's not even on the ballot, and say this guy is going to be the person we think has a better chance of beating Obama.
And that's Paul.
Don't we still have the same amount of votes? Or don't we still have the same poll people convention for not voting down? Makes sense. Right?
Depending on who's talking, there's 700 delegates to 550 delegates that are going Ron Paul's way, guaranteed. Those don't involve the stealth delegates that Adam's talking about. And when you are able to establish that the unit rule does not count at the actual convention, then you're able to say that those huge amount of people, plus the people that we don't know about, are really going to either make a difference or are going to break this convention and make it to the Ron Paul has a chance. No matter what he says, Anthony, I understand that you're a realist and stuff. I mean, look at a little picture of Ron Paul where it says, I think this glass is full, I think this glass is half, I think this is piss. And it says, Ron Paul before, because he lays it out true, he lays out the truth to you. So, and where you're coming from, but you have to also understand that we have been fighting this for a long time, and we know that the strategy that's been put in place wasn't put in place by Jesse Benton. It wasn't done by Doug Weed. It was done by Dr. Paul. It was done by Dr. Paul's very close constituents. I'm sure Barry Goldwater Jr., I'm sure there's a lot of other people that had some influence in that. But no matter what, we know that Ron Paul had a play in exactly how this strategy is going forward. So we have to focus on that. We have to focus on the strategy, and we have to push that to everyone out there. No matter who they are, no matter who we talk to that says that we just dropped out, we push the strategy to them. Let them understand that, no, you're just missing out on the actual truth.
Well, there's haven't been said yet about the national convention that I think need to be laid out in terms of the strategically into this. Once it comes to the convention, it's basically a winner-take-all game. There's no proportional representation. There's no, hey, 49% of you want a change in policy on the platform. Well, fuck it doesn't matter. There are two threats that Paul is bringing to the convention, or that the movement is bringing to the convention. And one is that with stealth delegates and with bound delegates, or people that actually are free to vote according to Rule 38 in the first round of voting, if they actually bother to hold a proper first round of voting, is that Ron Paul will win the nomination in the first round by that. And that's the first threat. That's the main thing. And remember, want out of this is a 4-day infomercial for the party and Mitt Romney. A That's why it's called that. It's ceremonial, where we elevate him to godlike status, and we make sure that the entire country knows what a woman. And this is the second threat that the movement brings, because everything else is winner take all, and it doesn't matter. However, if you have one person in there, remember, like it was me in 2008 pissing in John McCain's Kool-Aid, there's the threat of disruption and the threat of keeping them from having that clean coronation. That's really it. There's no, well, we had 33%, so you should really respect us. You should acknowledge that we're the future of liberty, or that liberty. No, all of that stuff that Jesse Benton is talking about is bullshit. So the only threats are winning by the majority when you add up the stealth delegates of people who are going to vote their conscience and say, fuck the party rules, because the rules have been bullshit throughout this entire process, and we're going to win it on the first round. And two, disrupting it and making a scene and using our leverage that way to get specific concessions. So if Ron Paul is doing that behind the scenes and saying, we're going to get this concession or that concession in order to get the coronation, like, that's fine. But I don't think that that's going to be worth not making a scene at the RNC if the deal that Ron is making is, I'll keep my people quiet if you change the platform. The only kind of concession he's going to get is in proportion to the threat that he represents to disrupt and the value of that to the establishment. Really, as much as it is, with Romney with commanding lead, they're not going to do anything to compromise that in terms of actually giving power to Ron Paul. So I say we go in, that's why I've come to the conclusion, full speed ahead. You go for 51%, and if you're not at 51% at the first round, you make chaos. You make absolute chaos. And for my part, I'll be on the outside and possibly on the inside. Anthony, you said I'd be on the outside, but we might have a table or for veterans for Ron Paul, and we might have a press pass for Adam versus the Man. But don't hold your breath. If I'm on the inside, and it's not like, hey, make an ass of yourself, but it's make your presence known. It's take advantage of it as an opportunity to spread the message, and specifically with veterans for Ron Paul, expose the Republican Party establishment as the Henry Kissingers who would tell you that men are like dumb animals to be used as pawns in our board. See, they really are. So make that. Anyways, I just want to get at least two things out about the procedural groundwork and the game theory that. Well, I got 100% correct in the
what do you
chat
think
room.
the chances?
It had to simply lobby at one point, lobby the delegates to the state convention at in order to vote. And I'm not saying we did a very good job of this. We totally failed miserably. But here's the opportunity. We know who the delegates are in a lot of these states, right? The names are public. They were processed. We can lobby them individually and say, hey, guess what? You're bound to vote for Romney according to state party rules, but according to national party rules, you're allowed to vote your conscience as per Rule 38, as Ben Swan of WXIX laid out in his recent reality check. So, here's the microphone. Who are you going to actually vote for? Are you going to be a Henry Kissinger, or are you going to be a patriot? And we can go out and lobby all of those individual delegates between now and August. We can ambush interview them. We can write them letters. We can embarrass them publicly if they say that we're going to vote for Romney because yada, yada, yada. We can go and expose that. And that's the real opportunity. So maybe that's why I'm optimistic, because, me, I have so much faith in humanity, and I really believe that appeals to conscience work, if maybe immediately over time. And June, July, August, we've got over 3 months to appeal to those people that are going to be there. It's really in their hands.
Is this a call to action? Is this a call to action to get gathered and to go out there and find these delegates and push journalism them and just respectfully, or however you have to do it, to get out there and to them and let them know that there's one chance? I mean, is that what this is?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get and respect. Let's do it politely. Yeah. If you let's put it on a state by state basis. Let's, as grassroots activists, And this is something I proposed sort of as just throwing the idea around with Gary French yesterday, with RevPAC, that this would be the thing that would be perfect for RevPAC. It doesn't need leadership. This can be a decentralized movement without a centralized plan for achieving liberty. But yes, on a state-by-state basis, you can still go and lobby your delegates to RNC. The race isn't over for the grassroots. It's just that you don't get to, play the game of going for the large-scale votes. You have to go for those critical votes that are actually going to be at the RNC in Tampa. And so what I would do is if you're together YouTube videos, actually call people, look them up, send them letters. Tell them you'd like to interview them. Tell them you'd like to ask them about if they would support Ron Paul, and go and lobby individual delegates. That's the best chance Ron Paul has of winning. I think if people do that, if people really latch onto that idea, then I think Ron Paul has at least 1 in 4 chance of taking the majority. Our job of getting Ron Paul now, we don't have to convince so many people in all these various primaries. All we have to convince is 1,144 of the 2,300 whatever delegates that are actually going to be at the convention that Ron Paul is the best choice. And that's part of what we're doing with Veterans for Ron Paul. That's our small part of it. But really, if people want to do something and they still want to support Ron Paul and they want to hold out that possibility that Ron Paul is president, here's how you do it. You go and lobby the delegates and you convince them that Rule 38 applies and that they should vote for Ron Paul. It's really simple as that.
Right.
And just keep
Why-
everything together.
Even people here in chat, they keep on making the comment that that Ron Paul is dropping out, that all these people said he's dropping out. No, they didn't. In Doug Weed's perspective, Ron Paul is not out, he's up. Jesse Benton, we are absolutely not dropping out of this race. We are focusing our efforts squarely on winning delegates and party leadership positions at state conventions, declared Jesse Benton, campaign chairman for Ron Paul. This is from Newsmax. Right here, this is a mainstream article. It's sad that it's out there, that we can actually believe the mainstream for once, but it says it right there. So people need to wise up and they need to understand that we're not going anywhere. This is not over.
If anybody, quickly, Joe.
Yeah, welcome to the conversation, Jesse and Joe.
No, can you just quickly tell everybody what you're doing? It's important if people want to get down to Tampa. Go ahead. Joe.
Joe, that's your cue, buddy.
Joe Blaze, are you paying attention, mister? All right, forget that.
I think he's just listening. He doesn't realize. But anyways,
all right,
Adam, I had another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You have done you've done one march. You've done several speeches that were very, very well taken. Do you consider yourself a leader of the Liberty Patriot movement? And if so, where do you see us supporters of you going in the near future?
No, absolutely not. I think it's really important that this movement maintain an understanding that it's a leaderless movement. And I don't say this just for my own personal security, but really, I think that's important because it's inherent in the spirit of the message. We may need leaders for specific actions. We may need candidates to take specific stands to make specific changes. And in that certain organizational capacity, there are leaders. I don't consider myself a leader of Veterans for Ron Paul because it's such a broader thing. I'm a leader of the organizing effort for Veterans for Ron Paul. I'm a leader in the sense that I have a title within the Veterans for Liberty Super PAC. But in the broader sense of being a leader, absolutely not. I think as far as we ever grant anyone in this movement any kind of leadership authority, it'd be limited exactly to the specific goals that a leader. You might say maybe I'm a leader in independent media production, and because I help people out who want to set up their own Liberty media outlets independently, people want to start podcasts, start their own YouTube channel, I'll coach them through that, and in that sense I'm a leader. But in terms of the movement, in terms of the message of liberty, absolutely not. I think that people who we hold up as leaders would be, maybe there's a better term for it, but I like to think of myself as simply trying to set an example. And if people want to follow my example, then in that sense I'm a leader, but I still don't think the title is appropriate because leading by example, even then puts the wrong spin on what is really sharing a message of personal empowerment in which we are all required to become leaders for our own lives and in living up to our own standards. So hope that's a decent long-winded answer.
Definitely. Also, thanks for your stance on medical marijuana. Us supporters appreciate you.
Man, it's only 10 o'clock. It's only we still have some planning and some venting to do, don't we? I'll spark up a bowl at the at the end of the session here. I'm gonna have to turn my camera down for just a minute.
Oh goodness, Josh, can you hear me, Josh? Hello.
Hello, everybody.
I think Josh's mic is.
Josh, I'm talking to you, Josh. Can you hear me, Josh?
Josh is frozen.
Josh.
No.
All right, so when I look at the delegates, okay, when I look through state, especially in Pennsylvania, there are a ton of them that, now for some reason they have me bound to Ron Paul, which if somebody did the research I could understand and why, but I never had to Pennsylvania, so I'm not bound to Ron Paul, but my point, undetermined. So you had no idea who these people are voting for. Now, let me ask you guys this. If we get down there in Tampa, Florida, and there happens to be a huge amount, and we all know that Ron Paul supporters are way more hardcore than any other supporters there are. Now, if we get down there and there are a ton of Ron Paul supporters on the inside, and Adam comes through and there are, a couple thousand people on the outside, veterans and people that are pushing for Ron Paul, what kind of outcome if we were to show that a huge majority of people on the inside, delegates, want Ron Paul, a huge majority of people on the outside want Ron Paul. Now, the cameras can't hide from us in Tampa. They're not going to be able to hide from us, okay? So what outcome could we be facing down there? And I'm just throwing it out there. Does anybody have any ideas? Because I think it could be a good thing one way or another.
Very good thing. Adam, what do you think?
Anybody else?
Adam, I was at Adam. Adam thought. I was at Adam thought.
I'm trying to let other people have a chance. I'm sorry. Tell me what you're asking. Anthony, tell me again specifically what you're asking.
Basically, we don't know how many delegates there are delegates for Ron Paul. Okay, we know that the media, the mainstream media, is doing everything they can to push us and brush us off. What if we get down there in Tampa? I'm on the inside, and there are a ton of people that are hardcore Ron Paul people. You're on the outside, that assuming you are on the outside and on the inside, a ton of Ron Paul supporters, okay? Now, there's going to be mainstream media cameras everywhere, okay? Is it going to be obvious if we all come together saying, listen, we want Ron Paul as our president, and there's hardly any support here for Mitt Romney? Well, basically, I'm trying to seize this opportunity because it seems like this is going to be, a very big opportunity for the Liberty movement.
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
do you feel about it?
No, I mean, I certainly agree that the opportunity is there, and that's the sort of fallback value that we get out of this is getting to make a statement no matter what. So I'm all for that. But I really think we need to start counting these delegates. I think we need to start hounding them one-on-one. And, I'll volunteer to, I'd like someone else to step up, really.
Sound doesn't work at all. I hear nothing.
If it was, I think this would be really appropriate for Revolution PAC to do, and maybe I'll have to talk to Gary about this again. But being the central hub to simply keep track of delegates state by state.
I'd have a conversation, I don't know what.
If we end up with, video interviews from each one saying, in effect, and you need to be voting or be able to vote your conscience. And by the way, who are you voting for now that you can vote your conscience? And have a central place where we're keeping track of that. But I think we go in there saying this, not with the attitude of like, we're going to win or lose or make a statement or disrupt. But hey, this is the showdown. We go to Tampa as the showdown within the Republican Party of whether it's going to be Ron Paul or Mitt Romney. And that's the attitude is, hey, we're going to find, I think that's the attitude. That's our best chance still is what is that first round of voting? We go in saying, Rule 38 better apply, motherfuckers, because you don't want to apply any of the rest of the rules, so how dare you disenfranchise your own delegates at your own national convention? So let's put up or shut up. Let's have that vote. Let's have all the delegates know that they're unbound and have that first round of voting openly and fairly.
That's exactly
For those who don't know, do you want to explain Rule 38?
Sure. Just to go back, Rule 38 is specifically the one analyzed and laid out in terms of its implications by Ben Swan, WXIX, Reality Check, did a great video on this a week or two ago. And this is what's so disappointing to see that the Jesse Benton has conceded this point, along with Rule 11. But Rule specifically says that it is no delegate to the National Convention shall be bound by any state rules or laws that they'll be allowed to vote their conscience. And the case cited by Ben Swan, ironically, is from 2008, when there was a delegate that was bound to vote for McCain from Nevada, said, bullshit, I get to vote for whoever I want, and said, I'm going to vote for Mitt Romney. And so now we have all of these Ron Paul delegates in position to say, yeah, Rule 38 applies to me too, and I'm going to be voting for Ron Paul. Rule 11, just since I mentioned it, is a different one that says basically the party is not the party establishment, no official until they're either running unopposed or the other candidates in the race have conceded or they have won the nomination. And this is what was so that pissed me off so much about Jesse Benton Sunday. Before this announcement even came out about about delegates and about gearing down the campaign or however you want to say it, is that Jesse Benton said the Republican National Committee came to him and said, hey, do you mind if we violate Rule 11 essentially and go ahead and set up a joint fundraising committee with Mitt Romney and start merging all of our apparatuses and get behind Mitt Romney as the official, if only presumptive nominee. And Jesse Benton said, yeah, go ahead. Like, hello, why would you, when you can object to your enemy getting help and, object to the Republican Party bending the rules, with your permission, why the hell would you not do that? And I think it's Jesse Benton selling out. I think it's Jesse Benton trying to make good with the establishment so he can get his next gig. But both Rule 11 and Rule 38 are supposed to be in effect. And the Paul campaign, and really Jesse Benton, has done the opposite on both counts. But it really doesn't matter, at least on the count of Rule 38, because we go into the convention, again, it's winner take all. There's no, there's no concessions for 49% at the National Convention. But if we can simply convince the delegates to the convention that Rule 38 applies, that they should demand that they get their right to vote their conscience under Rule 38, then they'll get that chance. And then we'll find out exactly how many of them actually support Ron Paul.
Somebody's asking the question, the GOP will... No, I was saying someone's asking the question that do you guys really think that the GOP will let this happen? And I always respond to that with the fact of how transparent this is actually going to be because of all of us, and because the Democrats are going to eat it up if this stuff goes down. And that's just my opinion.